Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited today because I'm getting to reunite and hang out with my friend, my homegirl from back in the day, Priya Kale. Now, Priya is a brilliant astrologer. I got a chance to get to know her and see how brilliant she is as an astrologer way back in 2016 when I was in or just outside Los Angeles for a conference, and really staying in touch with her, seeing her share has just been such a highlight for me. And now I get to have her at Synchronicity University. I get to officially learn from her. It is going to be the September 2021 series that Priya will be contributing to. She's going to be teaching a class on Chiron through the houses, and we're going to talk about that. Welcome, Priya. Hello.
Hello, Nadiya. Thank you for such a warm welcome, and thank you for having me. I'm just so honored to be here. And yes, especially because it's you. You are one of my favorite people in astrologers, and we go back a long way. So it's okay. In all honesty, and not just for the camera, for anyone listening, Nadiya, you've really been an inspiration through the years. And I love your ability to be so inclusive and warm and just yourself. Like, your light shines bright and it's beautiful to see. It's encouraging, it's encouraging. It's a good thing.
Thank you so much, Priya. And I remember interviewing you. When was that? That was years ago. Was it 2016?
Yeah, we were at Soda. That was the first time I spoke for Donna. Donna was the first one who actually gave me a chance to speak at a conference. So
the late great Donna Van Toen. Yeah. The late great Donna Van Toen. I love her so much. She loved giving people their first breaks. And I know you've done and had many of your first breaks already, but I love to continue that tradition as well. That's part of why I decided to expand my school, was really so that other astrologers could come in and get a chance to be not just introduced, because I know that a lot of people already know you. You are well known in the astrology community, but just a chance to learn from people and grow with people. I love it personally, and I know my students love it as well. So I'm just so happy that you're going to be back. As I said, you've been on Synchronicity Web TV years ago, back in Soda. Was that 2016 as well?
It was either I think it was 2014 actually.
Okay, so we go way back.
That is
awesome. Yeah. Isn't that cool?
10 years, actually. That's a Saturn square. That's interesting.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So it really is like, now we're coming together to do the work, like actually work. Before it was all fun and games.
Say that.
I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it was all fun and games. Now we're back and we're doing this work together. So Priya, let me ask you first and foremost, like, I know how much you love Chiron. You've presented, you're a pro where it comes to understanding and sharing about Chiron. What can we understand about Chiron in the astrology chart?
Well, okay, it's interesting that you start with that question. And it is a very, it's the perfect question that anyone would ask. Unlike other planets, where we can ask, okay, what does Mars mean in a chart, or what does Venus mean? And we know Venus points to our relationship and love and beauty and things like that. With Chiron, what's different, and if you've read anything about Chiron, you would know that Chiron is often, one of the keywords is, it's called a maverick planet. And there's many reasons for that. One of, you could think about its orbit itself, which is so different from any other planet because it crosses orbits. But also, Chiron, if you look at the symbol of Chiron, it's a key. And I like to call it the master key, because it's like it unlocks a chart. So if you think about a key, the key itself is nothing, right? It's just a key. It's what happens when that key is turned and the door opens. And what are you finding inside that door? I mean, are there skeletons in your closet? Or do you have treasures hidden back there? What's in there? So more than interpreting Chiron in a chart, which of course, with time, as our life unfolds, if we're, observing our astrology, it becomes very clear what that Chiron in your chart means. But I hesitate, and although I'm going to attempt to do it in this workshop, I hesitate to generalize with, Chiron in Taurus is this, because it's so unique to each and individual person. It's unlocking your chart. It's unlocking your life. But still, coming back to what is Chiron in a chart and what is the one common thread that if we can take away, right? Which is Chiron to me represents that birth wound, which we all share in common, which is, that moment when the umbilical cord is cut. And now I'm going back that far. And we sense a separation from the mother, a physical separation anyway, right? And then that birth wound is so deep and so unconscious for all of us. But that's the one thing that we do share in common. And that's really what that Chiron is, because it's almost pointing, because we then perceive separation, hence duality, because there's a physical separation. But in reality, if you think about it, it's just consciousness coming out of consciousness, right? It's embodiment of a divine consciousness, which we are on the physical material plane. So if you look at a natal chart, what is that? It's the seed, right? It's a seed of consciousness on this material plane, embodied within the vessels that we are. And, whether you want to call it the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, there's a higher consciousness that lives through us. That's why the body dies, but the soul is immortal in a sense. Not in a sense, it is immortal. But that's what we are, that's oneness. So with Chiron in a chart, one way to look at it is it points to that birth wound. And what is that? We're just seeking a connection. So it comes back to whether we're seeking connection with our relationships or in, success in the world, or whether it's with money, feeling secure, whatever it is, it's a connection that we're seeking. And so Chiron speaks of that connection, and disease or any sense of woundedness, whether it's physical or spiritual or emotional, comes from dis-ease, and it's a sense of, again, feeling disconnected.
So Priya, I know in 2027, there's a big moment coming up where it comes to Chiron. Can you talk about that?
Yes, thank you, Nadiya. So this is really what my talk, I want to touch on. Can I just start? Can you just wipe your question and may I just start? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So one of the major things that's coming up, Nadiya, and that I want to talk about in this talk that we have is 2027. So in 2027, Chiron will make its first complete return since discovery in 1977. So it's going to be 50 years since discovery. And this is unprecedented because Chiron was only discovered in 1977. So we've never seen a complete Chiron cycle as a collective globally. And what does that mean for us globally? So I want to touch on a few things, which is, if we look at what came up within even a week of Chiron's discovery in 1977, November 1st, 1977, Chiron is discovered. On the second day, November 2nd, there's the worst storm in Athens recorded in history to date. Think of Chiron and the centaurs and their ability for, the propensity towards chaos at times, but storms. Anyway, November 8th, I think it was the first elected official in San Francisco who was openly gay. So there was big advances for the LGBTQ community. On November 19th were the first peace talks between Israel and the Middle East ever.
Wow.
Something that's, absolutely coming up around right now. November 22nd was the first supersonic jet between, I think it was British Concorde jet. But you're talking about, understanding the laws of physics. We're breaking the sound barrier when we're a supersonic jet. Then on the same day was the first TCP/IP test for the internet.
Wow.
November 22nd. It's crazy. And then November 28th was the first digitally recorded album ever. So think of music going from analog to digital. Like it's our world today, And then November 30th, which is the last little thing I've highlighted, was the IFAD, which is a specialized agency for agriculture that was founded by the UN. And given the current state of the world with GMOs, which I truly believe are a majority of the cause for cancers and a lot of the diseases that we're living with, you know, it's like that first, month of discovery, that was Chiron awakens us to a higher consciousness. And, as a world, these are foundational things that we're living with today. And as Chiron comes to that 50-year mark, we're stepping over an evolutionary threshold. And then how can we as individuals, it can be overwhelming with all the chaos that seemingly pervades us right now. How do we find centering? How do we find a way to, get grounded and play our part? Because if anything, last year has shown us that we're all connected through breath, if nothing else. And in reality, we are. And so this is our journey towards awakening to our oneness and, individual self-realization, as well as realizing we are one. So when we are at war with each other on a personal level or a global level, it's like cancer cells fighting with each other, in this universal organism that we are. So anyway, my talk, I was, going to go through basically how we can individually maybe run through Chiron through Aries as a transit through the signs, because the next 5 years, Chiron will enter Taurus in 2026 for a brief period, and then it'll return to Taurus in 2027. But between now and 2026, we've got 5 years of Chiron in Aries. And Aries, of course, is a sign of the individual.
I love those physical examples you gave of real world events, because it really is as if, as our consciousness shifts, so do outer events reflect that. And I mean, I love how you talked about the shift of consciousness, the leap in consciousness, because I think peace, moving towards greater peace around the world, moving towards greater connection around the world, which is part of what the internet represents, which is part of what, faster air travel represents. That is a way of creating a more one world type of understanding of our existence here. That's very powerful.
It really is, right? Because then we realize that we are, in a sense, we are creators, right? That's that part of self-realization as well, which is we are creators, and in reality, only this present moment exists. So our consciousness, when we are our awareness matters. With Chiron, awareness is key, and the key is awareness. So like you said, if we want a world that's more peaceful, the way to do that, the only way we can do that is to start with the self. Our consciousness has to become more peaceful, before we can bring that peace out into the world. And we can create something different. It's a matter of where we're focusing, because look, this is reality, this is life. Through centuries, there's always been dark times, difficult times, and now because of the internet, we're also hyper aware of what's happening everywhere globally at any given point, so it's an overwhelm. And it's how do we self-care in this? How do we heal ourselves in this? So we feel more connected to ourselves and the world around us, rather than feeling unsafe, because that's Chiron in Aries, right? Aries at best can be safe like a child. It's us returning to that sense of safety that we felt when we were in the womb, maybe. And then maybe some of us didn't even feel that safe back then, depending on what the mother was experiencing, right? Even that is that connection. So where do we really begin, which is even beyond entering the womb? It's trippy, but so is reality, So I think this period of Chiron and Aries it can be really powerful and healing for us on a personal level, as we realize, what, we're not helpless, we're not powerless, we're not apart from the universe, we're a part of it, and this whole universe is that divine mother's womb. Like, we come out of the universe, we go back into the universe, there's nowhere else to go.
Wow, very powerful. Yes, we are always a part of the universe. There's nowhere else to go. We're all here together. And that may be part of what Chiron points the way to in terms of our understanding of that, so that maybe we don't feel as disconnected. We realize how connected we actually are.
Yeah. Because it's one thing that we say that we are, but then we switch to, oh yeah, but I have to pay the bills. Even that will come, and I know that's hard to hear for people who are struggling. I understand that. I don't want to be insensitive to that, but I want to say this to empower you, not to disempower you, because I've been through tough times, and I pain is a part of life, but suffering need not be.
Mm-hmm.
And we can be gentle and we can move those waves and know that nothing lasts forever. And how do we just navigate? Because we're all going to die. It's our quality of life.
It's the quality of life. Yes. We're only here for a certain amount of time in this incarnation. And so
Right.
maybe moving towards healing, moving towards an understanding of Chiron in some way can help us to make the most of this incarnation, to make the best of this lifetime.
Absolutely. And think about Chiron once we, Chiron and Aries, once we take, when we're feeling safe in the world, imagine what you would do.
How powerful is that? Yes. Once we feel safe in the world, imagine what you would do. Yeah. It's very powerful to consider how our Chiron sign might speak also to where we are in that journey, where our soul is in that journey towards embracing this oneness or working towards healing, understanding how we're bringing forward that healing in this lifetime.
Absolutely. And that's the most powerful thing. So when I work with clients, I mean, this is something, maybe it's a whole other workshop, or maybe I'll try to do it all in one. But the first thing I do before I ask them or tell them anything is, of course, I'll ask them, okay, what do you want to get out of this reading? So it helps me focus. But the next thing I'll do is I'll tell them that I'm going to ask you about a few times in your life and a few questions, and just tell me what you remember. And then I go through this very simple technique, which, it's basically just looking at the Chiron square, opposition, square, and return. And because of Chiron's very irregular orbit, that's something that needs to be, you need to look at it ephemeris. Only the return happens at 50. The first square can happen anywhere between the age of 6 and 22. Wow. So you can imagine, the difference of someone experiencing this energy when they're 6 years old as opposed to 22. People process it differently. And so it's so very unique, but so yes, depending on which sign, you were born in, you'd have to look at, when Chiron was square, opposite, and square your natal Chiron. And that will give you, pivotal moments in your life when you were stepping personally in your personal journey, when you're stepping over that threshold into a higher consciousness.
Wow. So all these major aspects of Chiron to itself speak to some shift or some leap forward towards a higher consciousness for yourself. That's fascinating.
Think of it, that's that key, that key is turning. It's turning. And then at 50, it's like the door unlocks.
Wow.
Or maybe, I mean, it's an analogy, so take it loosely, but you know what I mean? Or maybe like doors, like you go through like these gateways, and at like 50, it's a rebirth. It's a moment of rebirth. So yeah, it's like that gateway is wide open, So I say 2027 will be very powerful for us as a collective and as a planet, and we individually have the power to affect that future, no matter how small and insignificant we may feel at times, because the whole is not the whole without its parts, and you're here for a reason.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Priya, I'm really looking forward to your talk. And again, Priya is going to be part of the September 2021 speaker series at Synchronicity University. And until the end of August, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class to hear Priya and hear all kinds of other incredible speakers who are going to be part of this upcoming session of Synchronicity University speaker series. Thank you, Priya. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your healing energy to my school. I appreciate you so much, and I love you so much.
I'm so honored to be here and such a pleasure. Thank you, Nadiya. I'm so excited for this talk and to listen to everyone else. Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah, what? Thank you for what?
Thank you for being a light and bringing everyone together. It's so lovely. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to edit out that little piece that you just said. And so when I'm having days when I feel like, Nadiya, you need to remember who you are, I'm going to watch you saying nice things about me.
Yes, call me.
Okay, I will do that.
Call me. I am happy to be there to be like Nadiya. Nadiya, come on. You're Nadiya Shah. No, forget that. To me, you're Nadiya. But
yes.
But okay, now you can edit this out. But as an Indian woman, I think it's amazing. You know, it's inspiring. It's beautiful. I love it. So that's a personal, Nadiya, watch this. When you're ever feeling down, watch this or call me.
Thank you so much. Well, I will say, and I can say this on camera as well. I remember when I was first starting out and there weren't a lot of people on YouTube and there, you know, it really was a new thing. And I remember getting like emails from people saying, wow, it means so much to me to see a South Asian woman present themselves the way that you do. And that was so deeply meaningful to me. Like it made me realize how powerful representation is. And it's really nice. Like now there's so many in every realm you can imagine, like in terms of astrology and otherwise. I feel like more and more people are being like, they're more willing to be seen than ever before. And that is so healing for so many people. Now, a side note here, this is the addendum to this interview here, but my Chiron is in my 10th house.
Of course
So
it is.
Of course. So of course it would be, as you were talking, I was thinking, yeah, my leaps in consciousness and my own healing has been so proportional to my willingness to be seen, to put myself out there in a bigger way. There's vulnerability, but there's also this profound healing and growth that happens when I do that, and that I could be something of a healer to others in whatever way. And I appreciate that. Like whether it is through representation, whether it is through the message, whatever that may be, it's deeply rewarding to me. So I imagine, as you were talking about Chiron, that Chiron can also bring with it that sense of deep reward. Like, yes, the vulnerability, but yeah, that healing is so profound and meaningful as well.
And I mean, think about it, right? It's like as you give to the world, you feel healed and the world is healed. Like it's a mutual process, right? So it's our connection. Again, it's through your work, you connect with the world and the world connects with you. And what is that? But it's that divine connection that we all seek. And I would even with the 10th house, and this is a general thing, but especially with Chiron in the 10th house, I would say that, you know, this is a leap. Think about it this way. 10th house also represents mother, right? And, or at least to me, like I know people take it 4th and 10th. So when we're seeking approval, like, okay, when we're kids, we seek it from the mother. When we get older, we seek it from the world. But then the ultimate, I think, evolution of that is you become that divine mother, right? You become your own authority, where then you're not seeking approval from anyone else. You are that. So then now how do you care for the whole world like it's you? And that's, I think, part of your journey, calling?
Journey, yes, journey, calling. Wow, thank you for that reading, Priya. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you again for being here, Priya. You're going to have me looking at my Chiron really differently, and I know I'm really looking forward to your class this September. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and it's an honor.
Thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.
Bye.